HOA Karen declared my pool community pool, so I put up electrified fence. Have you ever had a neighbor who just wouldn't respect your boundaries? For me, that neighbor was Karen, and she took it to a whole new level. At first, it was just a nagging feeling that something was off. But as time went on, I realized that Karen's behavior was not just annoying, but also a threat to my private property. Welcome to my story, where I'll share how I fought against an overzealous HOA member, Karen, and protected my private property. It's a story of power, control, and the lengths people will go to get what they want. This is a story of standing up for what's rightfully yours and fighting against injustice, even when it seems insurmountable. It's a story that will make you question everything you thought you knew about your neighbors and your community. If you're a lover of justice and inspirational stories, don't forget to like, comment, and hit that subscribe button for more gripping stories. Have you ever dealt with a difficult neighbor or HOA member? How did you handle the situation? Did you try to reason with them, or did you take a more aggressive approach? As I reflect on my own experience, I realize that dealing with difficult neighbors and HOA members is a challenge that many of us face. But it's how we respond to that challenge that really matters. In this story, I'll take you on a journey of twists and turns, of ups and downs. I'll share with you the strategies I used to fight against Karen's aggressive tactics and the lessons I learned along the way. So, let's get started. But be warned, once you start down this path, there's no turning back. The question is, are you ready to take a stand and fight for what's rightfully yours? To understand how this all began, let me take you back to the start. My name is Frank Tyler, and I've lived in this beautiful neighborhood for over a decade. I'm a family man, a hard worker, and a proud homeowner. Our neighborhood is a quiet, suburban community with a mix of young families and retirees. We all know each other, and we look out for one another. Or so I thought. As for me, I'm a bit of an introvert, but I'm also fiercely protective of my family and my property. I've always been a bit of a DIY enthusiast, and I take pride in my home and my garden. Our neighborhood is a tight-knit community where everyone knows each other's names and faces. We have block parties, neighborhood watch meetings, and community events. It's a great place to live, but like any community, it's not without its challenges. Karen is let's say, a concerned citizen. She's always been involved in our neighborhood's HOA, and she takes her role very seriously. Maybe too seriously. I remember the first time I met Karen. She came over to my house, introducing herself as the new HOA president. She seemed friendly enough, but I could tell she was also very particular. At first, I thought Karen was just being friendly, asking questions about my pool and my garden. But as time went on, I realized she was taking a much greater interest in my property than I was comfortable with. So, what would you do if a neighbor started showing unusual interest in your private property? Would you try to brush it off, or would you take steps to protect yourself and your property? As I look back on my initial interactions with Karen, I realized that I should have been more vigilant, more proactive in defending my property. But at the time, I had no idea what was coming. As the days went by, I noticed that Karen was spending more and more time near my pool. She'd often be seen talking to other neighbors, pointing at my property, and taking notes. I had no idea what she was up to, but I had a bad feeling. And then, it happened. Karen declared my pool a community pool, claiming that it was a safety hazard and that the community needed access to it. I was shocked, outraged, and scared. I remember feeling like my world had been turned upside down. I had worked so hard to build my home and my life, and now someone was trying to take it away from me. I felt helpless, but I knew I had to do something. I started by meeting with a lawyer, who told me that Karen had no right to declare my pool a community pool. I also started talking to other neighbors, who were just as shocked and outraged as I was. But Karen and her supporters didn't take kindly to my response. They started spreading rumors and lies about me, trying to turn the community against me. It was a nightmare. The situation took a huge toll on me and my family. We were stressed, anxious, and scared. We didn't know what was going to happen next or how far Karen would go. I tried to reason with Karen, to explain to her that my pool was my private property and that she had no right to declare it a community pool. But she wouldn't listen. Karen's supporters started to mobilize, spreading their message of community access and safety concerns. It was a well-organized campaign, and it seemed like they would stop at nothing to get what they wanted. I felt like I was fighting a losing battle. Karen and her supporters seemed to have all the power, and I was just one person trying to defend my property. It was a daunting task, and I didn't know if I was up to the challenge. But then something inside of me clicked. I realized that I wasn't just fighting for my pool, I was fighting for my rights as a homeowner. I was fighting for the principle of private property. I started to take action, to mobilize my own supporters, and to fight back against Karen's campaign. It wasn't easy, but I was determined to defend my property and my rights. So, how would you handle a situation where someone is trying to take control of your private property? Would you fight back, or would you try to find a compromise? As I continued to fight against Karen's campaign, I realized that the situation was more complex than I had initially thought. There were underlying issues and motivations that I hadn't considered, and I began to uncover a web of deceit and manipulation that went far beyond a simple dispute over a pool. As the situation continued to escalate, I realized that I needed to take drastic measures to protect my property. That's when I decided to install an electrified fence around my pool. It was a bold move, but I knew it was necessary. The fence would serve as a clear boundary, a physical barrier that would prevent Karen and others from trespassing on my property. As expected, Karen and her supporters were not happy about the fence. They tried to climb over it, arguing that it was a safety hazard and that I was overreacting. But I stood firm, knowing that I had the law on my side. The situation eventually died down, with the police and mediators getting involved to resolve the dispute. In the end, Karen and her supporters were forced to back down, acknowledging that my pool was indeed private property. Looking back, I realized that the experience taught me a valuable lesson about standing up for my rights and protecting my property. It's not always easy, but it's essential to be vigilant and proactive in defending what's yours. One of the biggest lessons I learned was the importance of documenting everything. From taking photos and videos to keeping a record of correspondence, it's crucial to have evidence to support your claims. Another lesson I learned was the value of seeking support from others. Whether it's friends, family, or a professional organization, having a network of people who can offer guidance and encouragement can make all the difference. So, what would you do differently if faced with a similar situation in the future? Would you take a more aggressive approach, or would you try to find a more diplomatic solution? As I look back on the experience, I realized that it was a defining moment in my life. It taught me the importance of standing up for myself and defending my rights. And it reminded me that, no matter what challenges we face, we always have the power to choose how we respond. As we come to the end of this story, I want to leave you with a call to action. If you've ever found yourself in a situation where you had to stand up for your rights and protect your property, I want to hear from you. Your story can inspire and empower others to take a stand and fight for what's rightfully theirs. So, please, share your story with us. You can leave a comment below or send us a message through our website. As I reflect on my own experience, I'm reminded of the importance of knowing your rights and fighting for what's rightfully yours. It's not always easy, but it's essential to be informed and proactive in defending your property and your way of life. And it's not just about individual rights and property. It's also about community and support. When we stand together and support one another, we can achieve great things and overcome even the toughest challenges. So, to everyone who's watched this story, I want to say thank you. Thank you for listening, and thank you for caring. Remember, your rights and your property are worth fighting for. Don't be afraid to stand up and take a stand. And finally, I want to leave you with a question. What would you do if someone tried to take away your rights and your property? Would you stand up and fight, or would you back down and give in? The choice is yours, but remember, your rights and your property are worth fighting for. Thanks again for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more inspiring stories and updates. And if you have a story to share, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. We'd love to hear from you.